Welcome, beautiful people. Thank you, guys and gals and non-gender conforming, for joining us this afternoon. Prison is not something that people like to talk about. They don't like to talk about going in or coming out. No pun intended. I remember when I did 2 years in federal prison that time. What a memory. I remember everybody had jokes. Oh, Anthony, don't drop the soap. Which was very disconcerting for me because I am prone to dropping the soap in the shower. Well, anyway, thank you for all of that anxiety that you gave me. We're going to have a great podcast. It's going to be short and sweet. I have an amazing special guest. Make sure you share, join the live feed, and make sure you comment, ask any questions. We're open. And welcome to the first episode of Don't Drop the Soap.
Please don't drop the soap. It would not be advantageous. Please do not drop the soap.
Don't do the crime if you can't do the time. No.
Don't drop the soap.
Serve your time. Pay your debt to society. Once done, you will continue to pay said debt relating to housing, relating to employment, relating to social stigma.
All
without any rehabilitation.
That's right. Don't drop the soap. Welcome to this podcast. And what we're going to be talking about is post-prison rehabilitation. Now, there are programs that you go through in prison that prepare you for getting out. And once you're out, you are required to seek gainful employment. And a lot of times it's kind of difficult when you don't have the resources or the wherewithal to do so. So today I have a special guest. It's one of my fellow Firebirds from UDC, Rashawn Parks. Welcome him to the show. Welcome, Rashawn Parks. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Anthony. How you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for participating in these shenanigans. I appreciate you. I was also a guest on your podcast. That was amazing. So I totally appreciate that. And we're just going to hop right into it. Like, again, I just wanted our audience to know that we are talking about post-prison release rehabilitation. And I just have a few slides that I want to talk about before we get started, just so we can all be on the same page. Now, job opportunities for ex-offenders. The Biden-Harris administration has revealed that individuals who have previously been incarcerated face significant obstacles when it comes to securing employment. And this is a no-brainer for those of us who have been incarcerated. We know that these obstacles include, but are not limited to, discrimination, inadequate education and training, and limited access to job opportunities. And I have some personal stories about that. I'm sure, Rashawn, you've had some experience with that. We're going to go to the next one, which is background. So after you do the crime and you do the time, that's what they say. Don't do the crime if you can't do the time. You pay your debt to society. And you come out, you're ready to be a viable contributor to society. You've shed those things that brought you into prison, and you're just ready to, get on with your life. And guess what? Boom, background checks. So you try to get a job, and your background is enabling you to getting that job. It depends on what job that you are applying for, but 9 times out of 10, once that background check comes back, it's pretty much a no-go. And before I go into this next slide, I just want to share just a small story about when I was released for prison. I was out. My parole officer had a book. It was about this thick, full of jobs in my city, little Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I mean, a book this thick full of jobs that were ex-release inmate friendly. So you could apply to these jobs and they would not hold it against you that you were just released from prison or you were an ex-offender. And oh, did I have such a delight going through all of those pages and pages, filling out application after application. I mean, for just any job that I could fill out. Um, had a couple of interviews, and what was so funny was that it didn't work. None of those jobs were inmate friendly post release. I had a job. Went through 3 interviews, and I remember the interviewer. We talked about me being in prison and my background and all of that. For the first 2 interviews, went to the third interview, got hired. The day I went to fill out my paperwork in HR, the lady was like, "Oh no, I think that your something is wrong with your application. It says here that you check that you have been in prison or convicted of a felon." I was like, "Oh no, we talked about this for the first 3 interviews," and she denied my employment. Rashawn, is this common for ex-felons or people who are released from prison? Do you find that this is common?
Oh, that's very common. Yeah, I find I've been through the same thing once or twice. It wasn't until I got into a really good job program and got hired by a black-owned business that actually catered to felons. Well, and I ain't gonna say cater to felons, but gave opportunities to felons that I was able to find gainful employment. So I understand where you're coming from.
Definitely, definitely. And I think that the resources are what's going to have to take lead here when we think about the recidivism rate for prisoners. And let's see if I can pull this up right quick. So this was from 2018. So recidivism is basically when you are released from prison and then you go back in. So an estimated and these stats are wild. An estimated 68% of released prisoners were arrested within 3 years. So that means that within 3 years, people basically went back to prison. Now, an estimated 79% of released prisoners were arrested within 6 years. And the numbers just keep climbing. An estimated 83% of released prisoners were arrested, my apologies, within 9 years. So we have to do something to attack this recidivism rate for preventing people from going back on the inside. Um, Now, Rashawn, do you feel like that you had the resources?
Um, within myself, yes, I feel like I had the resources within myself. Did I have the resources provided to me from society? No. I can even, just looking at the visual. I know you didn't make that visual. It said was that from the Bureau of Prisons, the Bureau of
Yes.
Statistics? If you notice the diction, they chose to call you a released prisoner instead of a returning citizen. That
It's the
says it all.
verbiage.
And it says it all right there. It means that you belong there, and they're just letting you go instead of saying you belong here.
Wow. And it starts with what's in a word, what's in the verbiage. That's crazy. I do believe that some people, I will include myself and you as well, have a personality and the charisma to take the resources that you have within you to move forward and push forward, and not let things of this nature bind you from living out your purpose. Uh, I don't think that um, that's it for everyone. I don't think everyone has that thing that allows them to, um, with a great personality. You're charming and outspoken, and it's outspoken and things of that nature. I don't think everybody has that. So for those people who don't have that, what do you suggest for them?
Um, I don't suggest anything for them. I suggest it for the system. For those who lack the charisma, it's not. simply because they lack the charisma at this given point in time when they're a returning citizen. You kind of got to understand what they've been through, the situation they've been put in. Might quite possibly have changed them or taken some of that charisma, that original spunk that they had to go out here and do what they need to do. Some of you, might not know, but it changes you to be on the inside. You're in a different environment. It's a different world. You have to become violent. You have to become a resistor. Some people don't have that within them. I have those resources, but some of them just shut down completely when they go inside because they don't want to get caught into a situation where they're gonna have to kill or harm someone. They end up staying to themselves and kind of just shutting down. And you might stay. They call it being institutionalized, but people are institutionalized in different ways. Going to jail might have brought some charisma out of me, whereas someone who's more of an introvert or someone who doesn't have my level of charisma might just have been sort of just I don't even know how to describe it, but limited when they came home. You know,
I definitely understand the point of being institutionalized. I can see it happening right before my very eyes. I myself had to change my way of thinking when I was on the inside. I didn't necessarily look at, and I know this sounds funny just because I'm a jokester, but I kind of looked at it as like a really strict boarding school that I couldn't leave until I graduated. Kind of like, a prison for like Hogwarts, like Harry Potter, you know what I'm saying? But instead of like magic wands, there were like shanks and stuff. Um, and I could see how people can become institutionalized because it's the prison life is a microcosm of society. It's everyday life. You wake up, you do the same things every day. You have meals provided for you, a place to live, television access, access to a library, to the yard for exercise, for things of that nature. I can see how one can become institutionalized. And we're not even talking about the threat level that you have to live in every single day. Um, and it's difficult. What do you think that the system can do pre release to assist with this?
could start with some sort of therapy. Um, when you get, college is an institution as well, and when you get to college, you constantly hear, and I'm even talking about in these podcasts that we did throughout our semester, you constantly hear the words uh, mental health, mental health this, mental health that, and there's a stigma surrounding mental health when it comes to black men, but and black men are the people who make up the prison population. But if we could get people started with some healing before they come home, before we try to slam them back into society unprepared for, the torments that society also has to offer. You're kind of stuck between two institutions: the institution of capitalism and the institution of prison. If you could sort of heal and get some more preparation instead of punishment, that would put us in a better place. I wouldn't say it put us in a good place, but it'll make us a little more prepared to navigate this change. My title at work is business transformation, but I also work in life transformation. And you know, I've learned to understand that change is a difficult process for most people, and if you don't prepare them for it, then they resist change, and that's how people end up back in prison.
Mm, it's so interesting. It's so true. I along with this podcast, I did a proposal to where, and this was for class as well, where we would take 25 released um, people to reintegrate into society. We would have sessions every week to rebuild their resume, increase their skills, how to dress for an interview, how to hold an interview, things of that nature. By and the people who are running these sessions are also formally released citizens who were reintegrated back into society. And then we would follow those citizens throughout their journey, providing them with the resources that they need. and things of that nature. Their proposal has already been submitted. What other things do you feel before we go? What other things do you feel will be beneficial to those who are being released back into society?
Um, on top of just some mental health support, it's usually good to have a mentor. Um, and in preparation, you could spend your time in prison, sort of preparing to get yourself, to have something to stand on, whether that be a trade or something. And I think the feds do a decent job of preparing you with some sort of trade if that's what you're interested in. But I think that should be the focus of something like prison. An institution like prison should probably put you in a position to leave with a way to support yourself so that you don't return to the old ways of supporting yourself. Because we all had a way, we knew how to support ourselves, which may have been working for us. I know I didn't have a problem making money before I went to prison, supporting myself before I went to prison. But the ways that I chose to support myself were illegal. And I, and I think that that's what we tend to revert to when we run into challenging situations. And leaving prison and returning as a citizen is a challenging situation. And you might have sat in there the entire time and said to yourself, I don't want to put myself back in this situation. But if you get out and you keep running into obstacles, that's gonna be your first go-to. Is what you know. We all go back to what we know.
And you have to break that mindset. I totally agree. But do have a comment from Apple Brown Betty. She says that it would also help for with some help for the families they return to and how to receive them holistically. Wow, that's amazing. I remember when I first got out. My mom cooked for me. My family did. Um, received me with open arms. But also, my friends were also there with a bag, with a drink, with a smoke. You know what I'm saying? And there has to be, like I said, like you said, a mentor would be very advantageous during that time. So, to kind of steer you away from those old habits so that you don't go back to the same things that you were doing. Thank you so much, Abraham Betty. Would you like to comment on the family aspect of it?
Everybody's family is not always prepared to receive them, you know, back into citizenship. But to be honest with you, we have to change the how we view returning citizens, and how we view, just the whole institution of prison. It should be looked at as a judicial obligation. We all make mistakes, and once a person has been to prison and they've done their time, they have fulfilled their judicial obligation. When they return on probation, they're still fulfilling their judicial obligation. Once you fulfilled your judicial obligation, there's no need to continue to bring up the past, but more so to help people heal and move on into their future positions, and let them know and make them aware that it's okay to change.
True, indeed. And it is something that it seems to be a continuous thing. Like you have to continue to repay your debt to society when you've actually done the time in order to repay that debt. Once you get out, it's difficult to find housing, appropriate housing for you with that on your record when they do a background check, as well as gainful employment. It's very difficult, and you wind up paying for your mistakes way longer than you should, basically. You know what I'm saying? Because you've done the time. There are a lot of things that need to be changed, a lot of things that need to be worked on. I feel that the resources need to be amplified 1000%. Rashawn, is there anything you'd like to add? Or you can also tell people where to find you. Um,
Yeah, you can find me on social media. I'm on Facebook as Rashawn Parks. Well, actually, Sean Parks, and mostly you can find me in my old in my old nickname is International or Interstate Ivy League PhD. You can look me up if you want to know my background or you want to know what I went to prison for. It's going to be out in the book soon called Free Game. So Free Game Education for the Domestic Man. and that's my platform. That's what I'll be promoting. You might not love my politics, but it's really here as a men's rights platform, and we're going to discuss the type of things that you've spoken about on your podcast, Anthony.
All right, good deal. Well, Rashawn, thank you so much. I appreciate you, and I appreciate everybody who tuned in. Again, if you know someone that is just released from prison, try to assist them, provide them with resources. You can shoot them my way, and I'll provide them with the resources that I have available, and we can, help them out. Once again, thank you so much for tuning in to Don't Drop the Soap. This was a podcast that we talked about post prison rehabilitation in order to reduce recidivism in released form. Well, actually, um, in citizens that are being put back into society. We love you all. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we are out.
Please don't drop the soap. It would not be advantageous. Please do not drop the soap.
Don't do the crime if you can't do the time. No, 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 no. Serve your time. Pay your debt to society. Once done, you will continue to pay said debt relating to housing, relating to employment, relating to social stigma.
All
Continue to
without
pay
any
said debt.
rehabilitation.